Hey, Mikey, I've got a joke for you that will bring out the Marshall Dillon in you on the streets of Dodge City. You ready?
You know something? This town ain't big enough for the both of us, but sure, go ahead.
So, the show Gunsmoke lasted 20 seasons, which is impressive, especially when you consider that everyone in Dodge seemed to solve their problems by shooting each other. Somebody got a laugh out of that.
I know. Well, it inserts a silence. You want silence, and Brett's over there yucking it up.
I'll cut it out. Okay, that didn't go well. Let's try another. If Gunsmoke were made today, Matt Dillon would be solving crimes via TikTok confessions and drone footage over Dodge. If Gunsmoke were made today, Miss Kitty would have ditched the saloon and opened a craft cocktail bar called Whiskey and Wi-Fi with a 5-star Yelp. I kind of like the if Gunsmoke were made today stuff. Okay, one more if Gunsmoke were made today. Festus would probably have a conspiracy theory theme podcast called Grumble and Grit. Hey, everybody. Welcome to episode 45 of Mr. Robin's Hood podcast. We have what we believe is a very special episode for you today. We have as our guest today a woman who is probably the most interesting guest we've ever had on this train wreck of a podcast. She is an incredibly talented artist living outside of Dodge City, Kansas. I think the name of the town is Buckland.
It's Buckland, right? Yep.
Okay. She has ties to old Hollywood. Her father, Arvo, was a skilled gunslinger who taught, among others, James Arness in the fine art of the quick draw for the long-running television program Gunsmoke. In fact, Arvo's back can be seen in the opening shot, pardon the pun, of Gunsmoke, where he challenges Matt Dillon on the streets of Dodge and gets shot for his trouble. Arvo also worked with Hollywood luminaries such as Paul Newman, James Garner, Marilyn Monroe, Ronald Reagan, to name only a few. Our guest today, Inga herself, worked as a stunt coordinator and appeared in a number of films and series, including The Wildlife, The Man with Two Brains, Protocol, and Fast Times at Ridgemont High. Numerous television programs such as The Love Boat and Fantasy Island, just to name a few. I'm Robin Hohweiler, or Mr. Robin to you, and I'm joined as always by my exceptionally talented and snark-slinging co-host, Mikkel Murray Robinson, also known throughout the podcasting uni as Mikey on the mic. Enough of that. Mikey is a clever lass, no doubt, but I wouldn't recommend having her on your team for a barroom round of Name That Tune when the category is 70s music. I mean, she can't even tell the difference between Foreigner's Lou Gramm and Bad Company's Paul Rogers.
I can't. I admit it.
You've been warned. Say hello to our gathered audience of Quick Draw McGraws, Mikey.
Well, hello, gathered audience of Quick Draw McGraws. By the way, if you put that Name the Tune in the 90s, I will wreck you.
I don't doubt that.
But it's 70s will get me every time. Anyhow.
We're coming to you digitally from the newly constructed Studio C across from the Woodward Municipal Golf Course, located in Hollywoodward. We're coming to you digitally from the newly constructed Studio C across from the Woodward Municipal Golf Course, located in Hollywoodward. And as I previously mentioned, we're joined today by Inga Ojala, whose name in all the years I've known her I've never pronounced correctly. Not once. Welcome, Inga. Thanks for being willing to come on to the podcast today to discuss your amazing overachiever life.
And if you want to pronounce your name right for everybody,
Yeah, just once.
please do.
At least we'll have it for the record.
Well, in America, they do say Ojala, but it's a Finnish last name, which is pronounced Ojala.
Ojala. See, and you've told me so many times.
Yeah, but most people say Ojala because, it's easier for people to pronounce it that way. So
Sure.
So, see, you're not completely wrong.
Yeah.
No.
So, why don't we, if you'll just start off, maybe tell us a little bit of your background. And we're particularly interested in the ties to old, let me try that again, including your ties to old Hollywood with your father and your mother, as well as your own work in films and television.
Okay. All right. Well, I'm a professional artist and muralist. And my work is seen basically all over the world at this point now. And having there's so much with my artwork, as you probably know, and I can get into that a little bit later if you like.
Oh, absolutely.
And with my dad, his name was Arvo. Ojala or Ojala. And he was the legendary gun coach of Hollywood. And so to kind of give you an idea, if you remember the opening scene of Gunsmoke, when James Arness comes out and he has a shootout with a guy in black. Well, that was my dad.
Right.
And the funny thing is, my dad was so fast, he would get, 2 shots out on a sixth of a second.
Wow.
And they actually have a little separate little film that they shot on a joke on the director, where when they did the scene and they did that shootout, James Arness falls down.
Oh, that would have been cool.
Yeah, but there's so many films my father trained the different actors since the 50s. Ones that I'll just throw out there, like Silverado, Bonanza, as you know, with Gunsmoke, Wild Wild West. I mean, there's so many, to talk about. And he was the designer and maker of the very famous metal line gun holster that you see in Hollywood today. And then my mom was a professional figure skater, and she was a model and actress.
Right.
And a wonderful mom.
Oh, good. Good.
Yeah.
Good. And you had your own career in film and television.
Yeah. So at one point, I was the baby on the Northern Toilet Tissue cover. And then my
I did not know that about you.
I didn't either. That's great.
And then my sisters and I were the 3 girls on the Wonder Bread commercial, the 3 stages of growing. So I was the littlest, and then my sister Kim, and then Valerie.
Wow.
And then shows that folks might know of, like in the 80s. I worked on shows like Tron and Fast Times at Ridgemont High, The Wildlife, Pretty in Pink, a lot of the 80s shows, and a lot of times I'm just doing like background work. And then I did work with, like, there's a couple of movies called The No Man's Land, but this one was based off of women that ran the town, and I did stunts on that show, doing snapping the bullwhip, snapping a quarter off of a tree on the bull with a bullwhip, some horse stunts on that one, and some other shows like Punk Vacation. I was the art director on that, but they also had hired me to do some stunt work on a motorcycle. And so, I mean, there's like all different miscellaneous little shows I worked on, and
Okay.
So,
well,
yeah.
What about, because I recently saw this film, and I was thinking about this today. I didn't recall seeing you in it. Maybe you had a background role, but Fast Times at Ridgemont High?
Yeah, both my sister and I worked on that, my sister Kim, and I had some background scenes in that one. Um, and the one that's similar to it is the wildlife,
Hmm.
with was Chris Penn, and so
Okay.
I had a part on that one with Chris.
Oh,
It just a scene at the bowling alley,
I see.
nothing big. But,
Yeah.
yeah.
Okay.
Well, those supporting roles are important for any film, though, I believe.
Yeah.
That makes you got to
Yeah.
have all those little moving pieces. It's such a big project to put something like that on. Well, that's so cool. I didn't know much about that piece of your artistic life. So this is
Oh,
fun I'm learning. I mean, Robin's known you longer than I have, but we're
Yeah.
getting there.
I actually have a framed photo of her father, and he's like drawing his pistol.
Oh, I think Inga gave us one of those too.
Oh, cool.
So, it's a poster. Is yours a poster?
No.
Oh, well.
uh,
Well,
there you go. Well, I'm going to have to give you guys both one a poster and one more photo.
well, let me ask something, because the last time I spoke with you, you were spending a lot of your time out in California and trying to, as I recall, put together a museum that would be dedicated to your father. Where is
Right.
that in the process?
Well, I actually did build a museum in Pendleton, Oregon. When I had finished a
It's
big, huge
Oregon.
job.
Okay.
Yeah, well, I finished a big job in Dodge City, and I had went and started opening up a museum in Pendleton, Oregon,
Mm-hmm.
and I was building it as if you were walking back in time.
Oh.
And but that building I had closed that museum, and we're talking about at one point on opening a museum for my dad in California, but
Okay.
that hasn't come about at this time. So,
Okay. Okay.
yeah.
Well, I'm a big fan of Gunsmoke, so every time it comes on television, I note your father.
Yeah, one
Oh,
time I put Gunsmoke on the TV here, and Robin was like, "Did you put Gunsmoke on the TV?" I was like, "Well, the dog needed something to watch."
And the dog loved it.
Yeah, and she loved it. I was like, "See, everybody loves Gunsmoke." That's why when I saw it, I was like, "Ooh, this is a good one." I used to watch Gunsmoke with Brett's grandma. So,
oh.
yeah,
Yeah.
a lot of good memories watching that with her.
So if we could, thought we'd move just a little bit into more about your art.
Yeah.
Okay.
When I was director of the museum, or maybe it was even before I became director, I don't remember now. It's been a while. And you came up to the museum to exhibit, and your art was just so impressive.
Well, thank you. Appreciate that.
Yeah, the detail and subject matter. There was a lot of landscape. There was wildlife. There was wildlife in the landscape. And I just wondered if you could just talk a little bit. I know that you teach also, don't you?
Yes, I've been teaching. It's funny. The reason why I got into teaching in the very beginning, I was in high school, and
Mhm.
I got in trouble because I am always in the science room, and I was out digging worms for the reptiles.
Uh-huh. Oh, I see.
And so I would carry around the different animals around school, and because I love animals, and was carrying around the snakes or lizards, and I got in trouble because I was scaring some of the girls. And so I got in trouble, and so for detention they put me in with the special students, and to help them out, and for like after school, and I start teaching them drawings, to draw.
Mhm.
And I loved it. And I asked them, I go, can I continue doing this, each week,
Mhm. Mhm.
come after school? And I really enjoyed it. And the, you know, what the students got from that, it just really lights up their lives, it's a healing.
Yeah.
And that's why my mission is healing with the arts. And so I just continued that. And so I've been, teaching for so many years now, and from different ages, from youngsters, all the way up to seniors.
Mhm.
And I think that's important to have that in people's lives.
Oh, yeah,
Yeah, I
absolutely.
agree.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, and not everybody can be a teacher, that we do know. There's some people that they want to, but they're not always the best, and then there's people that just have that natural knack for it, and
Mhm.
I feel like that's definitely where you're at with that.
Yeah.
So I do have a question about, some experiences that you've had as a teacher. I know you've been teaching for a long time, but do you have any specific stories that kind of stand out, special things that maybe happened, or that you changed somebody's life with art?
Well, let's see here. There's been so many things that happen that it just really, just touches my heart,
Mhm.
to see students, lives just like really open up. And it's almost like a relief for some. They can't express themselves, so they
Right.
express themselves through the art. I remember out in Connecticut, I was teaching an after school program, and we were doing just still drawings, and there were younger kids. They were, I would say, oh, I had some 10-year-olds in there, but then I had an older boy in there that didn't want to be in there because his brother had to be in there. and,
Mm.
and his mom was working in the school at the time. And so I'm fairly free with the kids, where if they want to lay on the floor and draw, or if they want to be in their own little corner and draw, whatever makes them feel good, you know.
Mhm.
So this one particular student, he was, no, I don't want to be here. I don't want to be here. And I go, well, you don't have to draw. You don't have to, you don't have to draw this if you want to, do something else. And he was so defiant. He's like so mad. He actually walked out of the room, and I couldn't leave. So his brother followed him, and he found their mom in the school. She brings him back. You're going to sit here and you're going to stay here, right? So I just I just laid some paper there for the students, said, you know what? You can draw whatever you want. You don't have to draw at all, but if you want to draw, just draw what you want. And I guess he really opened up, and he drew some helicopters, right?
Uh-huh.
And at the and he hands me the drawings of the helicopter, and he signed it to me. And he was actually opened up.
Wow.
And I go, this is amazing. You should really continue working on these kind of drawings. You are really good at what you're doing. And later on, the mom came to me and she thanked me up and down, because like now, I was like a year or two later, I heard that he was still drawing these type of things, and you never know what path a student might go with this,
Yeah.
right?
Right.
Right.
And yeah, there's so many different stories that, of, you know, I find that students, I didn't know I knew how to draw, or, you know, where they wanted me to tutor them later on because they
Mhm.
found that you know, they they really enjoyed it, because there's so many different directions you can go with art.
Yeah.
It doesn't have to be a painting or an actual drawing. You could be an architect, you could be a designer. So you never know what doors it opens. And I've had many students from seniors that I've had seniors crying because they hadn't been able to do that type of thing for such a long time, and ones that didn't even know they had the talent
Right.
and they had that ability, and it's like they get so excited, and it's so nice to see that.
Oh, definitely.
Sure.
Yeah, and it's one of those things that you can change the course of somebody's life path by something like that. By showing them that they have the talent, or giving them the opportunity to create. And, can you imagine things that we wouldn't have if people hadn't gone out and taught somebody art, or showed them that this is something that they can do, whether it's for personal, gain or what you need to do as therapy or whatever, or that you could change the world with it, really, essentially.
Really, I mean, you look at the world, and so many things are created in an artistic manner, from, it might be landscaping, it might be a clothing, it might be buildings because they're getting more and more amazing architectural work that's getting more creative,
Mm-hmm.
and it opens minds, and so I think that's really important because art makes the world go around.
That
Right?
it does. I had just coined my own little quote about that, and it goes, "There is no world without art, and no art without the
Oh,
world."
Wow.
there you go.
So,
Wow, that's amazing.
thank you.
That's amazing.
But
Yeah.
that's kind of what I was going with that thought too, was it's everywhere. It is absolutely everywhere. It's in that wallpaper behind Robin's head right now, Like there's
Right.
art, there's an artist eye in that, whoever designed that. So definitely get what you're saying, which I feel like can kind of round us about to talking a little bit about your style. Particularly, Robin mentioned it was wildlife and that, and I feel like you should kind of tell us a little bit more about, obviously you love animals, so those are some of the reasons, but maybe elaborate a little bit on that for us.
Well, I do a lot of wildlife and Western art and so on and so forth, and I don't limit myself. Because I like, you know, touching different things in regards to, um, this wildlife to Western to landscape. And I combine a lot of those, but not even the mediums. I work with everything. So I do a lot of chainsaw work with wood. I do the um, welding. I do plasma cutting and um, different types of paints. And I mix my mediums with the paints. And I try to show students, to certain levels that they can do this also. And just like, I don't know if I mentioned to you folks about that angel I built. She's 6'3" and she weighs 1,200 pounds.
Oh, wow.
She's a big girl.
Yeah.
Okay. And so I made her from a dream, and I didn't have a lot of money. And so I used all the insides, all recycled material,
Mhm.
so I did all the welding of the inside for her structure. And then found old chicken wire. I actually have like plastic bottles and different things inside to create that space.
Mhm.
And then the outside's all concrete mortar. And
Wow.
she's sitting on a massive rock. But again, it's like, there's no really limitation, and with my paintings, I love doing my camping and my fishing. So I do a lot of fishing. And that's why you see a lot of my fish art.
Mhm. Mhm.
Yeah,
So
sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt you. I was
no,
like, you brought
no,
one to the museum when you exhibited last, which I think was 2023, and it
hmm
was trout. And there was like this amazing piece of wood, like driftwood in the bottom, because it was like a picture of them in the lake and they were like swimming around it. And I remember looking at that painting and looking at the trout and being like, these look absolutely realistic.
right,
Like it
right.
had the iridescence even to it, like whatever paint mixing medium that you did with that, it was just amazing.
Thank you. Well, thank you. Like I think I mentioned to you, I love snorkeling. And
Yeah,
so I love snorkeling, and that's how I'm I'm not just swimming.
right.
I'm studying and memorizing the things I see, when I'm snorkeling. And I think the one you're talking about is based off a place out in Oregon,
Yeah.
Lost Lake. They have all these massive trees in that lake, and I I kind of take snapshots in my head when I'm seeing things like this, and I love putting that in the art and giving it that realism, but finding, hiding little things in there, like I don't know if you remember that crawdad in that one, and and the different little minnows and so on. And so children love finding those things. It's like finding Waldo. I love finding little hidden things that I put in. Even my murals, I'll actually put hidden things in murals. So, and children and just anyone can find them and they learn. So, I did the same thing to that 80-foot mural there in Kiowa County Memorial Hospital.
Yep. I'm going to have to go over there and check that out. I knew that you were doing that. I think you were working on that about the same time you were doing the show at the museum, and I was like, oh, my grandma lives over there. I'm going to have to check that out when it gets done. I think you may have showed me some like project or progress pictures or whatever, but yeah, I'm going to have to go find that stuff now. I'm going to be taking pictures like, I found it, Inga. Texting you.
Yeah. So, yeah, even with murals, this one's 80 foot and 14 feet high, kind of like on a curved concrete wall. So, and it's on the it's opposite from the street side. It's because a lot of the patients that can't leave their rooms are able to see this massive mural. So it's very healing for them, and it's kind of where the ambulances come in. So it's just very relaxing and calming for the people there at the hospital.
Yeah.
But I mean, if you look really close, you'll even see like flies and butterflies and insects throughout the mural also, because it's a teaching thing for kids, because this is based off the Kansas prairies.
That's neat.
Yeah.
Yeah, I need to Google that just so I can see it before I go see it.
Yeah.
Because I like to do that sometimes. I like to see it in a picture and then see it, because pictures just do not do any of that kind of stuff justice. But
right.
I like to kind of compare that or get excited about seeing it in person.
Yeah. Yeah. Because it's like all the murals have, done all over the United States. It's like each one of them's, I just love detail, even though a lot of times murals, the murals might not do really big detail because normally people stand way back.
Sure.
To see a piece, but I can't help it. Got to put those little details in there.
Yeah, I think that's cool though, because and I know it takes a little bit longer to do some of that detail on that big scale, but it makes it almost like you can look at it 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 times and see something new, and I think that's so cool. It's not like I'm gonna go look at this once and know everything about it. It's every time you see it, it's kind of a new thing, and I think that's neat. So
yeah.
If you can pull this out of your head, can you name off some of the other states that you have or places that you have murals?
Well, from coast to coast, there's a number of them in Connecticut, and there's some Rhode Island, New York, and Maine. There's in Indianapolis, and quite a few states in between, from, of course, out in Kansas to, let's see here, going up, I'll just throw some other ones like in Oregon and Washington and California. And a lot of times, these are in homes too, residentials.
Okay.
And then, of course, like out here in Kansas, there's quite a few different ones in Dodge City. There's the Eisenhower Park murals. I did some murals for the Wright Zoo, which they're remodeling at this point. And then the 80-foot mural in the Dodge House Hotel. You have to go down the hallway, and that's the history of Dodge since 1500s to the 1800s. And then when you're outside the Dodge House, I built that. It's over 100-foot project. It's called the End of the Santa Fe Trail. I built a waterfall there. It looks like a tree that fell down, which is actually 25 feet long, and the wood structure is out of wood, but the outside's all concrete and mortar, and then I did a life-size horse and a cowboy. And
how did you realize that you were able to build? To me, that's
Well,
such a unique thing to be good at. How did you realize that was something in your wheelhouse? I'm curious because it amazes me because I am not that building type person.
well, my dad was always amazing constructing, designing things because he was like an engineer in his own way. And of course, I have both of my brothers are engineers, and then my sisters, they're amazing with their work that they do. But I love working with my hands, and so I used to be a contractor in Connecticut, and I used to build sets for theater, for schools, and so on and so forth. And I, at first, started off trying to fit it within the budgets of the school, which is like cardboard. But then I start, getting into more and more structures and into the concrete. And it's like the sky's the limit, like out here, I built a massive adobe type of fencing based off of, very southwest at a mortar and cinder blocks and using historical wood post that was based off the Starbuck fire out here in Kansas.
Oh, yeah.
I utilized all those within that fencing, and it just creates, and it's like, then I keep on adding different, pieces in it. And yeah, I just love working with my hands and creating. And then, everything from a small little sculpture for a jewelry to, massive things, because I'm welding a watermill right now out of all scrap metal, and then I'm building a Finnish sauna based off of 1700s, so that will be alongside of it. And so, it's like limits, no limit.
Yeah, you have no limits. I love
You
that.
also have way more energy than I could ever muster.
Yeah, no, that's great. Where is your 1,200-pound angel at? I meant to ask you that.
She's hanging out in the barn here.
Okay, so she's
here in Buckland.
In Buckland,
and she's looking for a home. So her title is Angel of Hope, but she is looking for a home right now. So if anyone knows a good place for her to be, let me know. She's 1,200 pounds.
Yeah,
and she's 6'3". So
wow.
Well, that's cool. Well, maybe somebody listening to this podcast will hit you up about that, and we'll get the angel sold for you. So, speaking of building and the fact that you live over there in Buckland, my grandpa was a general contractor, and he actually built a house there in Buckland for his brother.
Nice.
So, yeah, I didn't get that construction bone, apparently.
The DNA slipped past you there.
Yeah, I think it did, but that's all right. I'm good at assisting. I'm good at tearing stuff up too. I can tear it up for you.
There you go.
So if you need some help tearing stuff up, I've got that down.
And it's amazing though. It's like, I had mentioned to you, I think I mentioned you guys about the cattle drive that I was on in 2018.
Yeah, you mentioned.
So when that was 200 miles. That was a 2-week event type thing. And I rode on a horse alongside the chuck wagon. So, and I took, for the total of 2 weeks, I took over, I think about 2,500 photos approximately. But I learned so much because I've been studying the Santa Fe Trail for over 6 years.
Yeah.
And then the Oregon Trail and these different trails. And it's amazing though. And I try to put that within my art. And so that's why it's like I liked my students to be able to go paint outside, paint outside, see what it's a different, you're looking at something different than you're looking at a piece of paper and working off a piece of paper, photo of something. Or, to be able to go out there in nature. That's why I like when I'm out camping, I bring my wood pieces and I'll sit by the stream or whatever and just paint a trout that I just released. And sometimes when I'm I'll put one of my hand-tied flies in a painting, to kind of give it a little bit more dimension. Fun things like that. Just, there's so many things that an artist can do. And a lot of times, different ages, oh, well, I just, I don't really know if I'm really an artist. Well, who tells you if you're an artist or not?
Right.
Yeah.
There's so many
We've
different
had that conversation.
types of art.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, there's just so many different. If you feel good about it, what you're doing, there you go.
Yeah.
There's just different types of artists. So
I don't think you have to be good at art to be an artist. I think
that's right.
the act of creating, and I don't even know that I'd say any art's bad by any means, because I feel like whatever artist did that or individual did that, they got something from that piece. So whether other people are like, well, that's not good, you know what? It was good because it did something for that person, whether you like it or not. You know what I mean? If that makes sense.
Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah, it does. I mean, there's a lot of people that don't, they're not into wildlife, but they like something else, another, subject matter, so that's why it's so amazing. Like what you said about art, art's everywhere.
Mm-hmm.
It's everywhere around us, so it's beautiful.
Sure.
And it's very healing.
It definitely is. I always say, art's my form of therapy, whether it's whatever, medium or, artistic endeavor that I, come up with, because there's so many different forms. It always gives so much more back to me than it's ever taken. I don't know that it's ever taken anything, to be honest with you, but
we're all profound here.
Listen, I've told you I'm a self-proclaimed philosopher. All right, I'm really pushing that these days, but
okay. So, Inga, do you have any exhibits coming up anytime soon? Or?
Well, I have pieces that are being shown right now in the Wild Coyote Gallery in Big Bear, California. And I have, I just brought down 2 new pieces down to Don Taco, which is in Dodge City.
Mm-hmm.
It's a 6-foot painting of a buffalo charging towards you, and then awesome. a horse skull with 2 buffaloes on it, and that I just brought that down a couple days ago. So,
wow.
Yeah. Yeah. There's pieces like everywhere.
Yeah. And you paint some pretty cool scenes on the skulls. You had a couple of those. Those were really cool.
Yeah.
Yeah, I brought some. I have more pieces to bring down, but down in Cottonwood Cove in Colorado. That's kind of in between South Fork and Creed. They have a bunch of pieces of mine down there, and I paint on saws, massive saws also.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, right.
So my stuff is kind of like many different places.
That's great. Well, and you have a website too that people can visit.
Yeah.
That if they want to get in contact with you, as far as if they want to commission you for something, maybe they want to buy the angel.
Oh, there you
go. Which it sounds amazing. I also just love how you use scrap stuff. My husband and I were always like, we shouldn't throw this away because we can make art out of it, and because to me it's like, give it a new purpose. And even like sometimes I've broken some mugs, and I'll take some of those broken pieces and I'll put them in some of the pots with my plants, and just, I don't know. I hate to I'm just going to throw that away so it can rot away in a landfill when it could be a couple, like the rocks in my potted plants. I had somebody be like, that's going to cut you. I'm like, why am I going to touch that?
Yeah.
Why am I? I'm like, it's to look at. Come on. But anyhow.
So, Inga, what is the address for your website?
It's www. That's INGAOJALA.net.
Okay.
So it's basically my name.net.
I got it. Okay, great.
Yeah.
Well,
Yeah.
look forward to seeing you again sometime soon.
Yeah, her and I had kind of talked about, there's some things that we're doing some somewhat construction type things at the museum, so to speak. I want to get past that, but Inga and I had talked about her coming up and doing some art workshops at the museum and offering that.
great.
And so we'll be talking a little bit more about that. So, it's something that I'm sure we'll have on our website at the museum when we start posting it, but also probably something that Inga will be sharing as well. So we'll get that more lined out, and
Wonderful.
at some point, we like to give it a few years in between exhibiting, but it's already been 2, so a couple more we'll probably invite her back again, because she's producing all sorts of stuff, so she has new things. Always new things.
Yeah.
So we'll
Tell
definitely...
me something. Do you ever sleep?
What's that?
Do you ever sleep? It sounds like you could be running and gunning 24 hours a day.
Well, it's funny because I design a lot of stuff in my sleep.
I get that.
Yeah, we actually had a podcast about that.
Really?
Dreams being creative influences.
Yeah, but it was the surrealist.
Oh, Salvador Dali.
Salvador Dali, yeah, used to do that. And he had a way of waking himself up so he could write down.
It was called the
N1
sleep stage, which, a lot of my dreams, because I'm always telling everybody that's close to me, like, if I could only draw what I see in my dreams, like I had a rat assassin in one of my dreams, like a rat that wasn't assassinating people. And I'm like, how cool would it be to draw this rat assassin? But that's not really what I want to do.
Probably turn up in a podcast somewhere.
You're always using my mind against me, but but I definitely understand the getting, creative, inspiration from one's dreams.
Wow.
Oh yeah, I do that a lot. Yeah.
Yeah, she's just very, very good at managing her time, Robin. Maybe you should get some lessons from her.
Yeah. We should have a workshop on that at the museum.
Like if we just saw like a day in Inga's life and she's got like it like spelled out by the 30 minutes, but you probably don't even have to write it down. You just do it. It's just in you to be that type of person, which is amazing. So, well, Inga, is there anything else you want to add to what we talked about today, or anything else you want our listeners to know about you as an artist, or anything like that? I'm opening that up for you.
Well, thank you. I just, don't get discouraged with your art. Sometimes stepping away from something you're working on and to look at it at different angles, sometimes that will help, an artist. Because I see so many artists that get so frustrated. I go, just step away from it. Just, if you have to leave it, into a corner and just walk by it every once in a while, it'll come to you. Whatever type of art it is, if it's jewelry, sometimes seeing it in a different light, a different location, whatever the art might be, and just keep on going. Don't stop.
Yeah, that's really great advice.
It really is.
That's probably the best advice.
And could be applied
you
to
could
most
give.
things in life, probably.
For real.
Yeah.
Well, and that is so true, because creating art is not something you can force, and when you're trying to force it, then it just, you get more down and you can shut down. And so your advice is just walk away from it, even if it's just go start another project that you're inspired by, because you're going to probably leave it in a corner and come back to that one in that corner.
Well, I do have a lot of that going on.
Do you? Yeah, I can relate. Both myself and my husband are like the worst about that. Like you walk into our house and it's like, here's like 15 art projects we've worked on and are not finished, but we'll get there.
Yeah. All right.
Right. Sometimes that's what it takes. So, yeah.
All right. Well, thanks so much for coming on the podcast today, Inga. It was a Real pleasure to talk with you.
Absolutely.
And we
Thank
look
you.
forward to seeing you again soon.
That would be wonderful. And thank you very much, both of you.
Yes.
Okay.
You have a great day.
You too. Thank you.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
All right. Bye.
If you have any questions for either Mikey or myself about today's episode or any other darn thing, you can email us at mr.robin@mrrobinshood.com or mikey@mrrobinshood.com. Also, you can find us on Facebook at Mr. Robin's Hood Podcast. As always, you can also reach out to Mikey or me via Podophone at 580-827-0472. Maybe you just want to get something off your chest or you're feeling some butt pain because of something we said during the broadcast. Give us a call, unless, of course, you're a quick-drawn novice looking for a fight, in which case you'll definitely want to contact Mikey. You can leave a voicemail. Text us if you have a question, concern, complaint, compliment, suggestion, whatever. Just don't be a dick about it.
Yeah, emphasis on don't be a dick about it.
One of the things we're hoping to do in 2025 is offer a podcast internship. If you'd like to work with a couple of seasoned podcasting pros, give us a call or email us. I think we're probably looking for someone pursuing a mass communications or broadcast journalism major. We won't be paying a salary, but we will offer a small monthly stipend. We'll also pay mileage to from the compound. There are free drinks and food at least once a month when we record the episodes. We need help with maintaining the podcast schedule, which is quickly becoming unwieldy, booking podcast guests, and possibly down the road editing the recordings and even running the board. So please give us a call or drop us an email if you're interested. In the meantime, tell all your friends to listen to this podcast as though their stinking lives depend upon it.
Because they actually do.
They probably do. As always, you can stream or download episodes of Mr. Robin's Hood Podcast wherever you usually find that sort of nonsense. We're on Spotify, iHeartRadio, Amazon Music, the Podbean app, Apple Podcasts, Player FM, Listen Notes, and Podchaser. You can also stream them directly from our Podbean website at mrrobinshoodpodcast.podbean.com, and it's for free. So we'll close now by reminding everyone, as we always do, to stay hungry,
Stay foolish, and most importantly, stay weird.
You gunslinging freaks.
Bye-bye.
Bye.